Welcome to another episode of NBA 2K18 Roster Edits by Remember the Great Sports. This is the all-time Minneapolis, Los Angeles Lakers team. With that being said, NBA 2K18 and 2K19 has done a really good job compiling this roster. There's only one thing that I kind of have a problem with, and you're pretty heavy on the center position. You have Shaquille O'Neal, you have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you have George Mikan, you have Wilt Chamberlain, and you have Pau Gasol. I understand again that these guys are all-time greats in their own means. Every one of them a Hall of Famer. Pau Gasol's not a Hall of Famer yet, but he probably will be. But how can you have a team with 5 centers? I mean, again, realistically, that's kind of hard to accomplish, to have 5 centers on a team. So, with that said, I haven't necessarily deleted these players off the team, but I've changed their position to get them in the starting lineups, to make them backups, you know, that type of thing. For example, I believe I have Pau Gasol listed as a power forward instead of a center, you know, the backup power forward. So, to get down to business, there's only one person that I view maybe needing to be off this team, and that is Michael Cooper. I feel that Derek Fisher and Byron Scott belong on the team. Everybody else is a Hall of Famer, so they stay by that measure. Now, I'm going to say this is 2018. LeBron James has yet to play a... So, with that said, if your preference is to put LeBron James on this team, I definitely would slot him ahead Derek Fisher. Okay? I would take Michael Cooper and Derek Fisher out, and I would insert LeBron James and the other player that I'm going to share with you. Then LeBron would obviously move ahead of Byron Scott on that depth chart. But I'm doing this as of 2018, before LeBron James says if he plays with the Lakers for the next 3 to 5 years, wins multiple championships, there's no doubt he belongs on this team. But for right now, this team is already stacked with 11 or 10 Hall of Famers, 11 being Pau Gasol when he probably does get in. And the only non-Hall of Famers are Fisher, Cooper, and Scott. So, with that being said, I'm going to show you the one addition minus Michael Cooper, and we will go from there. Alright, so here we are with the starting lineup. I have changed it around a little bit. Most notably, Magic Johnson is at the point, Kobe Bryant at the 2, Elgin Baylor at the 3. But I made Wilt Chamberlain the power forward. Even though Wilt never probably ever was a power forward in his entire career, due to the fact that we have 5 centers on this team, I made Wilt the power forward on this team, with Kareem as the man in the middle, and having Shaq come off the bench. Now, there are some people that may be like, oh my gosh, Shaq needs to be in the starting lineup. He's got a higher rating than Kareem. It's whatever your preference is. I personally prefer the all-time scoring leader in my lineup as opposed to Shaq. Shaq is a great player, but he's not Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So, if Kareem never was a Laker, Shaq would definitely be on that, number 1 on that list. Now, another thing you could tinker with is you could take Wilt Chamberlain out, put Shaq at the 4. Then you got Shaq and Kareem, out on the 4 at the same time. It's just whatever your preference is. They're both on the team. Kareem's my starter. Shaq could be yours. Backup point guard Jerry West. This goes under the same notion that maybe you want West as your shooting guard, because he really was more of a shooting guard than he was a point. For whatever reason, NBA 2K lists him as a shooting guard, even though he was, or as a point guard, even though he really was a shooting guard. Your backup small forward James Worthy, Hall of Famer in his own right, not better than Elgin Baylor, but still a great guy to come off the bench to, score some points. Backup shooting guard, Gail Goodrich. Gail Goodrich is a forgotten Hall of Famer, played at UCLA, probably one of the best pure shooters, the game has ever seen. You just don't hear much about Gail Goodrich because he's kind of lost in the shuffle with the all-time Los Angeles Lakers, Minneapolis Lakers. Another center is George Mikan. This goes back to, the Minneapolis Lakers. He was the first dominant big man to really play the game. He belongs on this team. It's just hard to allocate all those minutes with all of these great players on that team. This goes with the next discussion with Pau Gasol. You know, again, another center. He can play power forward as well. I just noticed I didn't change the position, but if you like, you know, I would recommend putting him as the center power forward or power forward center. That way he comes off your bench as a power forward and is inserted in the lineup maybe there for Chamberlain. Finally, the 12th man on the roster, and this is crazy to say this guy's a 12th man, but another Hall of Famer, Jamaal Keith Wilkes. Very happy that NBA 2K finally recognized him and added him to the game. Every year I always would create him to add to the team, so it's very cool that they were able to get the rights to have him, you know, on this game. So that rounds out the bottom with 0 minutes allocated with Byron Scott. Byron Scott, as you can see, was a long-time Laker for many years. And, you know, he's a good shooting guard, point guard combo. But when you have Kobe Bryant, Jerry West, etc. on this team, you're not going to get a whole lot of minutes. Now, the addition to this lineup that really doesn't matter, you could leave Michael Cooper on there, or you could put this guy on there. But I chose to put Eddie Jones ahead of Michael Cooper, only for the fact that I feel he was a better scorer than Cooper was. But, again, being a shooting guard, a small forward, being on the reserve list, he's not going to get any minutes anyway with Kobe Bryant and Jerry West ahead of him. Rounding out the reserve list, Derek Fisher. Now, I go back to what I said earlier in the video. Any of these three, I feel, are interchangeable, whatever your playing preference is. And I would recommend, if you prefer LeBron James on your team, that you remove one of these three. Probably Eddie Jones or Derek Fisher would be my recommendation. Then you would slot LeBron James in here, probably make Wilkes down to the 13th man, you know, and obviously cut into Worthy's minutes as well. The other consideration is just eliminating Pau Gasol altogether off the team, again, because he's the 5th center / power forward, and LeBron James can play the power for the 3 or the 4, you know, which would fit into the power forward position as well. So it's really up to you. Finally, this team is coached by none other than Pat Riley. This picture is horrible of him. This guy has less hair than Pat Riley, so Mr. Riley, I apologize about the hairdo, but he's the only image with a guy with slick back hair that I could find. So obviously Pat Riley's your coach. This is probably, if not, next to the Celtics or the Bulls, the most stacked lineup in this game. And right out of the package, you have very little you have to do. Eddie Jones is found elsewhere on the game, so you don't have to create anybody. But this is an awesome team to play with. All right, so hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you agree with my thoughts. Again, I know LeBron belongs on there, so don't yell at me too much for not having him on there. But let's look at the fact that he's only played a handful of games and move forward, because obviously he would be on this list later on. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next one. Thanks.